Oh, don't know how I screwed that up. Originally, it looks like it was set for 10 o'clock. So, if nobody's here, now I know why. Screwed it up. Anyway, September 10th, 2025. Heinz. I was in that. Day tripping. Stephen He. That's all I can say. Go watch it. Make comments. I'm turning it off. All right. So I have albums, singles, and music history, birthdays, and that's it. I will tell the radio story first. That way, if you get bored and you leave, that's fine. So the radio story. Some years ago, Brian Phillips and myself were slated to go to a crew game with the team and a couple of winners to go with us. So we went ahead and had a contest. Winners were chosen, and we planned to fly down to Florida to go see the crew play. Now, if you know Brian Phillips, Brian's an awesome guy, but he can be a little scatterbrained at times, just a wee bit. And apparently, before we're supposed to leave, Brian lost his driver's license. This is immediately before we're supposed to leave, mind you. Okay? So we went ahead and we had a promotional piece. There's pictures of it somewhere. I was looking. I forgot what day it was, too late, so I couldn't do it. There was a promotional piece of Brian Phillips. It was a piece of foam core, which you know what it is. It's like the thick cardboard that's got like squishy foam in the middle. It was about this big. And it was a mock-up of a print ad and billboard. And it talked about Brian Phillips being on the radio station. It was a young picture of Brian. So we took that to the airport with us. This big promotional thing. I had business cards. I bought a business card for him. And we got to the airport and said, hey, we're supposed to go meet the crew down there. And, this team's playing. And we've got two winners here. And these guys were with the radio station. Look, this is Brian Phillips. He does the morning show on the radio station. Smiley face, this big piece of cardboard with his face on it. It's like, this is a promotional thing. Well, look, here's my business card. With my ID, I'm the, boss at the radio station. I'm the marketing guy, and we got to take these winners down, and Brian's the morning show guy. You got to let us on the plane. So we got on the plane. They let him on the plane. That was his identification, this giant piece of cardboard. So we got in the airport in Columbus, and we flew to Florida. Now, this was a crazy adventure, okay? We went to the crew game, and we saw the crew. Now, this was the same place where Tampa Bay plays. So the Buccaneers, so there was a giant pirate ship at this stadium, and during the game, we went ahead and found sort of like a back side door area, and it took this elevator up, like, staff only, and it popped out behind some like second floor, third floor VIP schmooze and booze party. And we could see, and you could see there was like lobster and food and people reveling, and I was like, oh, let's go. I was like, we can't sneak in. And I was like, oh, well, we're going to sneak in here. So there was a cop. So we were like down a hallway, imagine a longer hallway, and the bathrooms were on either side of us. So you could see the cop who would walk by, and he would kind of like, patrol. So I was timing him. So I'm like, okay. I said, okay, so what we need to do is, the door's open. We just need to go in, go right to the bathroom, hang in the bathroom for a minute, and come out like, like blah, 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 and just act like we've always been here. So, cop walks by. I pull the door open. We quietly, it's like, go, 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 go. You know, like, go, go. And like, into the bathroom. I close the door and get into the bathroom. And we're like, bah, laughing, you know, we're peeing in the bathroom, the four of us. We're like, this is great. Okay, shh. All right, just, I know. All of us go back out at once, like, like we've been here the whole time. So what's exactly what we do. We walk out and we're like, walk out to the bar and we're like, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh yeah, let's get this and this and this. You know, we go over and start snacking and stuff and, you know, go over to the bar and, you know, and get like another drink. And the bartender's like, nice move. I was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, just kind of knowing that we totally snuck in, watched us do it, and totally just didn't get away with it, but didn't care. But it was like, nice move. I'm like, thank you very much. Appreciate that. So we VIP partied this thing, you know, and then when the party broke up, we kind of walked out like, like we belonged there the whole time. You know, no one asked, who are you with? There was no name tag, so we just blended in. So anyway, so we watched the game, and it was a crazy game. You know, we had a good time. Crew played in Tampa Bay Mutiny, and, you know, fun ensued. Now, we were there for an extra day. So the next day, we went and said, well, let's go play golf. Okay. So we found this dog track of a golf course, and I mean dog track of a golf course in the middle of nowhere in Florida. Okay. And the car we had, I'll always remember this, we had a white convertible, like Z28 Camaro. And driving at one point, I remember we were on the highway because it's white concrete highways in the middle of nowhere, and coming up, and there's a stopped car in the middle of the road, like stopped, like in the fast lane or middle lane, just like dead stop. There's no exit ramp or anything nearby. And I'm like, wait, is that car? I was like, holy crap, like had to swerve around this stopped car in the middle of the highway. And you know, there's just the details of this were just too crazy. So then we went and we played golf at this, like I said, it was an absolute dog track of a, it was a crazy adventure. So it was just, it was just this, yes, they did. They understood the importance. We had to go do this. But it was this crazy golf course, okay? I have a picture of Brian ducking down because it says, do not retrieve golf balls because of alligators. I was like, okay, that's funny. Also, I was like, holy crap, that's a freaking alligator. And you could see there's an alligator out in the water. And so Brian's like, there's a picture of Brian like ducking down, like being all coy and, you know, coquettish, like, oops, like pretending to pick up a ball further back. And then at one point there was a giant snapping turtle walking across the course. And it was just a beat course. No one else was there. I remember we were like the only people on this whole course with rented clubs. That night, then we went back and driving back, it's Florida. I saw turtles for sale. And I was like, what? So I pulled over. This is the side of the road and they had a turtles stand. And here's a dude selling turtles. And I was like, all right. I'm going to buy a turtle. So I bought Mr. Turtle. He was like this big. He looked like an olive. Okay. I'm not kidding you. He was this teeny little guy. It was way illegal to sell at that size, the whole bit. But I was like, Mr. Turtle. So I had Mr. Turtle. And so that night we go back to the bar and we hang out with the team. So we're hanging out with the team and, you know, the coach, and we're having an awesome time. And this is like, you know, super fun, super party. This is great. And lo and behold, you know, I've got myself Mr. Turtle. I put him in the martini glass, literally sitting in the martini glass. And the bartender was like, what is that? I was like, it's an olive. He goes, well, your olive just moved. I'm like, oh, who knew? So Mr. Turtle's swimming around in my martini glass, just sitting at the bar with us. So we partied all night and had a great time with the winners, and we had a great time with the team, and we hung out with everybody there. It was just, you know, really cool. Let's see, this is gonna be great. So the next day, you know, the next day is actually when we golfed. So we golfed, and this was the next day. So we partied that night and then golfed the next day. And then, you know, had to go and we're flying back. So, you know, we drive the convertible back to the airport to drop it off. Now, remember, I have Mr. Turtle with me now. He's still my pet. So I have him in martini glass all the way to the airport. Brian doesn't have an ID. And So we have to go through this rigmarole again, like, oh, hey, we're down here from Columbus, Ohio. We came to see the crew play the mutiny and woo, blah, blah, blah. I get a plastic bag and I put Mr. Turtle in my pocket. So Mr. Turtle is now in my pocket, leaving the martini glass sitting like at the airport, like on the windowsill when I walk in the airport. Like, okay, we're just going to put this here and Mr. Turtle's going to go in my pocket. So we do that. And it's like, oh, get on the plane, you guys crazy kids. And again, this is this giant, like 24-inch by like 12-inch promotional thing. And that's the identification that Brian Phillips uses to get on this airplane. We go ahead, we fly home, we're all excited, blah, blah, blah. What a great time, what a great time. The next morning, I get woken up. Get up, get up. A plane just hit the Twin Towers. We were the last flight to leave Florida that night before 9/11. The Columbus crew was stuck in Florida for over a week because there was no more flights out and they had to rent transportation eventually and come home on a bus. That was the last time we were ever able to fly with that much freedom, where we didn't have to have stamps on our IDs and extra security measures and everything else to fly. So it was a very, very interesting adventure, as we were the flight that left Florida the night before and the last ones to fly out that night. So crazy story. We always reminisce that on this day on September 10th to remember that tragedy on September 11th. So no more flying without ID anymore, kids. That's just not the way it works. Just not how it happens. So anyway, that's the way that goes. Let's talk about albums. Let's talk about music. Let's talk about bands. 2012, Bob Dylan Tempest released his 35th album. 35th album. I'm like, wow, Bob, man, you're prolific. It peaked at number 3. And it was actually proclaimed with critical acclaim from Rolling Stone and other critics, saying that it harkened back to some of his darkest record days and times. Not in a bad way, but the darkest record he had produced in decades. Like I said, it peaked at number 3, but was critically acclaimed as a huge success for Bob, sort of throwback to his original sort of darker sound. 1975, Kiss. Kiss Alive is released on this day. It's their first live album and their 4th album. It's considered their breakthrough landmark sort of tome of what they recorded. Now, apparently they said that it was live until finally in 2003, after much cajoling, they admitted that it was maybe overdubbed just a little bit for the best sound, because while recording live, they did not use the microphones at some points. They missed some chords, and apparently there was some mix-up on stage as it is live. It was recorded in 4 cities: in Detroit, in Cleveland, in Wildwood, New Jersey. I was like, Wildwood, New Jersey? I was like, that's crazy. I know exactly where that is. That's where I grew up, Wildwood, New Jersey. And in Des Moines, Iowa. I was like, okay, seems like just, I could see Detroit, Cleveland, New Jersey, Iowa. It was a double disc, and it was the epitome of classic Kiss. 1974, Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention released Roxy and Elsewhere. It was a double live album, and can you guess where it was recorded at? Yes, the Roxy in Hollywood, and a little bit elsewhere, but mostly the Roxy. Some of the songs were compilations of songs that were recorded. Like one was recorded one day, another was recorded another day, and they made that one song. I was like, interesting. So it was a compilation of songs made into songs. Interesting, to say the least. 1970, B.B. King. Who doesn't love B.B. King? Released live in the Cook County Jail. So apparently he went and got permission from the warden in Cook County Jail in Chicago to play and perform for 2,117 prisoners, mostly young black men incarcerated there. And he went ahead and this went on the charts for 33 weeks, this recording. It had a profound impact on BB, the recording, and he continued to play at prisons for most of his career. He also co-founded the Foundation for the Advancement and Rehabilitation and Recreation, basically to help incarcerated young black men to get an education and have better living conditions after what he saw in the Cook County prison. Good old B.B. King. 1974, Randy Newman. Sharp people got no reason. Released Good Old Boys, his fourth album. It only reached number 35, but it did make it as a gold record. So, meaning he sold 500,000 units minimum. But it was his first major commercial success. Randy Newman was kind of an outlier and didn't really have any number one hits or things until later in his career after this album. 1990, Neil Young released Ragged Glory, his 20th and his 6th with Crazy Horse. It came out as the 36th best grunge album of all time, according to Rolling Stones, and it was considered garage rock back then. Neil Young was credited with being part of the grunge movement and helping to move it forward, being that he had been doing this for years before, coining grunge. 1982, Peter Gabriel, 1982. It was also given some other names, but that's all it was named at. Geffen did call it something else, but I forgot what it was and didn't write it down. It was his fourth album, and it was a top 40 single, Shock the Monkey. We all remember Shock the Monkey, I think. It was remastered in 2002, where Gabriel and company said that it was one of the better albums that they were happy to have released. Did not get critical acclaim, though. Interesting. Singles released on this day. In 1975, Bob Dylan released Oh Sister live at WTTW-TV in Chicago. It was the only time he played that live on TV. In 1991, Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit was released on this day. It came off the Nevermind album, which was released September of that year, 1991. As well as on the same day, Aneurysm was released. That was the B-side of Teen Spirit. And also, Nirvana released, even in his... Oh, I can't read it. Whoops. Sorry. Even in his youth. God, I was like, what did I write there? Which was actually as a single and not released. It was released with Smells Like Teen Spirit, but it was not on any album. It was never on an album. It was just released as a single only. I listened to it. I was like, oh, I'd never heard that song. Golly, was released as a single only. Woo, 1991. Yes. Smells Like Teen Spirit was considered one of the biggest hits of their career. They got tired of playing it and all the commercial success. Rolling Stones, again, later on said that it was one of the most anthetic songs of all time. Who knew? Now, this one was interesting. In 1967, the band Love released Alone Again Or. I was like, why does that seem familiar? So I listened to it and I was like, wait a second. I've never heard this song this way, but I have. The Damned released it. And The Damned released it in 1987, and that's the version I've heard, and probably you've heard. I didn't realize it was a cover from the band Love, who originally released it on this day in 1967. So 20 years later, the band The Damned recorded it and released it. And that's probably the version that you remember. So if you play it, you'll hear it. It's a good song. I was like, oh yeah. I was like, I like this song a lot. Yeah. Alone Again Or by Love. Interesting. 1954, Elvis released Good Rockin' Tonight. It was actually recorded by Ray Brown in 1947. Also a cover that Elvis procured for that. In 1965, The Animals released It's My Life. The single went on to be a smash hit in the UK, as well as covered by many, many other artists over the years. We talked about Nirvana. In 1984, Queen released Hammer to Fall, the single. It was actually used in the soundtrack for the Highlander movie, and actually went on to become a big hit because of that. Otherwise, I listened to it, I'm like, oh, I guess I remember that song. It wasn't one that was like, oh, it's great. And then in 1970, Lynn Anderson released Rose Garden. It was number one in country for 5 weeks. She sold 500,000, got a gold record out of it, and became her biggest hit of her career. I was like, wait a second, is that I never promised you a rose garden? I beg your pardon. I was like, oh yeah, I know that song. I beg your pardon. I never promised you a rose garden. That's what that song was. And I was like, from Lynn Anderson. I had no idea who sung that until I listened to it. And it was a country song. And I was like, yeah, country music. There was definitely a blurred line what you considered country music back in, I don't know, 1970, what you consider country music today. Because to me, that's almost like a AOR kind of a poppy song. But I guess, that was country. Who knew? 1964, The Kinks released You Really Got Me. It went to number 1 in the UK, number 7 in the US, and number 4 in Canada. You really got me. You really got me. 1966, the Beatles started number 1 for 4 weeks for the Revolver album. It also went to number 1 in the UK, Germany, Australia, and Sweden. What's up there, Greg Hansberry? The Kinks, yes, indeed. Very good. We like the Kinks. 1966, The Supremes, You Can't Hide Love, was released and became a big hit. But then it was also released 16 years later, in 1982, by Phil Collins, and it also became a big hit. So, again, lots of covers going on there. In 1977, 3 weeks after Elvis Presley's death, Elvis's 40 greatest hits from 1974 topped the UK charts. So probably the UKs were sad when Elvis died as well, and brought him back and resurrected him to the top of the charts. In 1983, Michael Jackson, after being off number 1 for 2 whole months, jumped right back to number 1 with Thriller, selling 70 million copies. Best-selling album of Michael Jackson's career. 70 million. A million is platinum, so he was platinum 70 times over. I don't even know if there's a medal for that. So it's platinum 70 times over, because 500,000 is gold. A million is platinum. 70 times over. MJ, baby. In 1983, Flashdance, the movie, and the song from it, Maniac, went to number 1. Michael Sembello was the one who went ahead and made that. I was like, never heard from again. I was like, Michael who? Michael Sembello, apparently. I was like, okie doke. 1988, Phil Collins again. A Groovy Kind of Love went to number 1 in the UK. 1988, our friends Guns N' Roses went to number 1 for the first and only time of their entire career for Sweet Child O' Mine. It's a Michael Jackson medal. It is a Michael Jackson medal. I think it could be that for sure. In 1988, the Beach Boys went to #1 in the UK for the Best of the Beach Boys, a compilation of their best hits up to that time. I guess they've had other better hits afterwards because it had to specifically say up to that time. 1994, Oasis Definitely Maybe comes out and debuts at #1 in the UK. Well, I listened to that the other day and it's a good album, just saying. 2005, The Gorillaz, #1. Virtual band Gorillaz, #1 in the UK with Dare. 2011, Moves Like Jagger, #1. Maroon 5 and Christina Aguilera. I had to listen to that just because I was like, what? Really? I was like, oh, that's horrible. I'm sorry. I was like, nope, no. That's why I've not really was like, I've heard that, but I was like, no, that's not for me. I didn't like that at all. And in 2011, the Red Hot Chili Peppers' 10th album, I'm With You, goes to #1 in the UK and eventually #2 in the US. Who knew, right? All right, I'm going to do this because I'm going to fix the camera because I know it's going to click out any second. So if I do this now, you can just go ahead and look at me, the guy in the van, and think, hey, that's the guy in the van, me. I'd give you the other camera, but for some reason my overview camera didn't go on. I would have given you the whole thing. Move it like Jagger. You know what? I just, no, I'm sorry. I listened to it. I'm like, nah, it's not me. It's not me. Birthdays today. Bill Stevenson of Black Flag, but mostly he spent most of his times with the band The Descendants. Born in 1963 on this day. Also born on this day, 1950, from Aerosmith, Mr. Joe Perry. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee, along with the band Aerosmith. Perry wrote a bunch of the songs, and who's texting me here? Nobody important, apparently. I just had it on. Sorry. Put your phones on vibrate, people. How unprofessional. 1939, Artie Tripp, the Mothers of Invention. That was Frank Zappa's band. Apparently he's from Athens, Ohio. Didn't even know that. Well, I didn't know Artie Tripp personally, so why would I? But from Athens, Ohio. So there you go. There's your Bong Hill connection right there, ladies and gentlemen, to Zappa. Danny Hutton of Three Dog Night, born on this day, 1942. Joy to the world, all the boys and girls now. Joy to the fishes in the deep blue sea. 1945, Jose Feliciano. So, if you remember Jose Feliciano, I forgot water again tonight. Jose Feliciano, born on this day. But he did Chico and the Man. He also did Light My Fire, which the Doors covered. I was like, wait a second. Because I was looking at his discography. I'm like, so I listened to it. I'm like, oh, wow, that is the exact same song. Very different from Jim Morrison's rendition. Much more soulful. It's a very soulful rendition of Light My Fire. But it's the original, it's good. But I was a little surprised. I was like, oh, I did not realize that was a cover that Jim Morrison did. Who knew? Apparently somebody else did. Also on this day, Barrymore Barlow of Jethro Tull was born on this day. As well as 1955, Pat Masalato of King Crimson. Still in the band today, apparently, because it said current. I mean, some of the bands aren't. 1956, Johnny Fingers of Boomtown Rats. I don't like Mondays. Most people don't. I'm going to butcher her name. It's Saboin Faye from Bananarama. Saboin? Guess? I don't know. I'm so horrible at pronunciations. Just always has been. I think I have bird blindness. Sorry, I was watching John Cena in, what's it called? See, I just totally spaced on that one. Come on, Randy, moving like Jagger. Yeah, but anyway, I was watching John Cena, and the episode, the guy had bird blindness, so he couldn't tell if it's a duck or an eagle. I have word blindness. It's all right. Also born on this day, 1960, David Lowery of the band Cracker, and of course, Camper Van Beethoven. So, very happy birthday to David Lowery. We love David Lowery. We have many stories of David Lowery and Johnny Hickman of the band Cracker. They spent many a time coming to the radio station. I think they tied for most times bands have come to the station. They were right up there. They actually came on one of our birthdays on an anniversary many, many years ago. Early on, I think it was like the year 1 or 2. The station, they were actually there for our birthday. I think they were there for one of our like birthday shows, but did a big room as well, because I've got a black and white photo of them from that. Always liked Cracker. We saw them at a bunch of shows. One of my funniest thing ever. Sorry, this is a bit, for the time. So please don't hate me for it. But one of the guys that was the promotions person at the time, we had to do an event once, and it was at a mostly African-American bar, and he decided to wear his Cracker shirt. And we went in to do the promotion. He's got a white shirt with these big letters that says Cracker across it. It was an interesting evening, not going to lie. We got lots of comments about his shirt that night. Lots. It was fun. We had the best time ever, but yes, most entertaining. So, yes, David Lowery. Very good, very good. Also, Robin Goodrich of Bush, birthday today. Rob was in all the way through 2019, I believe, is when he stopped being in the band. But we knew Robin. He was a good cat from the band Bush. And also, today, 1984, Matthew Followill from Kings of Leon. We've had Kings of Leon at the station also. So I've met Matthew, also a nice guy. Not a lot of artists passing today, thankfully. There was not a big death day when it came to musicians. We did have Diana Rigg, who was Mrs. Peel from the original Avengers, that British show. She was also in Game of Thrones. Didn't see Game of Thrones, so I didn't know that. But it did reference that. So I was like, okay. Didn't know. And then Cliff Robertson. He was an actor. He did like an AT&T voiceover for a while. He was in Spider-Man. He was one of these guys that if you saw him, you're like, oh yeah, I've seen him in lots of movies. Cliff Robertson. So yeah, that's there you go. That's all that's the news that's fit to print on this day. I tried to keep it a little bit brief, to keep it moving. Try and keep it under an hour. Then maybe I won't lose as many people at the end. They're like, all right, move this along. I got to get up for work in the morning. This thing's dragging on too much. So that's the music history on this day, September the 10th, 2025. Is your garage haunted? Maybe, possibly my garage might be haunted. Do you need to see my garage or something? I don't know. You can find out, Greg. You can bring over your little like boop 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 boop. The station may be haunted. I mean, it's all boarded up now. It looks like it's haunted. It was burglarized. I got 4 guitars back. Apparently, I didn't realize there was that many stolen. Who knew? Well, apparently the police did because they recovered 4 of them. I think they found a couple of fine individuals that broke into the building, smashed out the windows. What are you going to do, right? That's the way the world works. It's kind of crazy and kind of chaotic. What can I tell you? So I'll reach out to Brian Phillips tomorrow morning and say hello to Brian. We always try and touch base right around September 10th, September 11th. As it is a little bit crazy how that works. What can I say? Anyway, again, that's me. So if you go ahead and you go check it out, go watch the episodes. If you don't watch the episodes, just make comment. At least say, we need more Randy. We loved Randy. He was great. Feed Randy. More Randsanity. Because I really need to get back on the road and get paid to do this. I'm getting tired of doing construction every day. 10-hour days are killing my old ass. No wonder, guys that construction their life look like a leather shoe. I feel like a leather shoe. I've gotten grayer hair. I didn't get gray hair when I ran a radio station. Well, that's because it was just rock and roll. Would expect, right? I mean, just saying. All right. Anyway, appreciate you all for being here. Whoa, hold on. I didn't mean to do that. You hit a button and it just, that's my fingers. It just says, can't keep still. All right. So now I'll go back to saying thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it. We'll see what happens this weekend. I'm still up in the air. What's going to happen this weekend? I may be doing reviews of bands that I just saw. Just saying. So it might not be in studio for a few days. Might have to figure that out. If I don't, it'll be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That will be single laptop. And I'll have to check the times because I don't know what time everything might happen. So I don't know. We'll have to keep it all up in the air. Maybe I have to do it early, like during the day, because nighttime may become undoable depending on how long it takes. I'll fill you in the details tomorrow because I'll have more details tomorrow because it's Thursday. Because I know that because the blue bins are out tonight. The recycling bins. That's how I know what day it is. It's haunted. The lights went out. Yes, it is. It is, in fact, haunted. All right. With that, I will bid you a fond and farewell and adieu. And I will look for you all tomorrow. And we'll do this again, but slightly different. Slightly different. Until then, thank you. Now we fade to black. And we say good night. End stream. End stream. There it is.